to episode 8 of the Ironman 70.3 Maryland training series, and we are getting very serious 5 weeks out. So, which I believe is correct. Yes. So I can't believe it's been 8 episodes already. That is a little crazy, but we've come a long way over those 8 weeks, and basically today, kind of touching on a couple different things, but the main thing, or the one thing I wanted to talk about, was the swim that I teased on Thursday of last week. So I had a swim the day after I posted that video, and it was my first 4,400-yard swim, which I believe is like 2.4 or 2.5-ish miles, which is really starting to get a little bit serious, I guess, in terms of like the Ironman distance. So the goal here was not to really like swim super fast and, be Michael Phelps in the water. This was just kind of a mental check-in and say, how are we feeling being in the water for an hour and 26 minutes? Because that's what it ended up being. So basically I was free to go at my own controlled pace, but it was a massive mental win, and I also didn't cramp. I've been dealing with, as I mentioned many times in a lot of these videos, I've been cramping, but I was able to take on good fuel beforehand. I was hydrated, and it went really well. No cramps, no panics, no nothing. So I finally figured out another big win was I figured out the flip turn. I had to tuck the head a little bit more to keep the water out of my nose, but now we got the flip turn going, so looking like more of a legitimate swimmer when I go to LA Fitness, which is always a good thing. So, like I said, it was an average of around 158 per 100 yards, and it took me an hour and 26 minutes, but my average heart rate was 124, and my max heart rate was 145. So in terms of where I want to be race day, I think that I obviously have a ton of more intensity in the bank, essentially. I think that even an average of like 140 would probably be fine. So as long as my muscular endurance can keep up with my cardio endurance, the swim should progress very well until August, which I shouldn't even really be focusing on August just yet. I just feel like a lot of the training has started to cater more towards the longer distance, as I feel like probably another like 2 weeks of these longer sessions, and then maybe 2 weeks of pretty like fast, intense, like more speed sessions. And then obviously we'll taper for the 70.3, and that'll be our race. So that's kind of like where my head's at. But of course, with the coach and with what I do with my EndurLife athletes, it's nice because we obviously have flexibility to program what we need as needed in terms of schedule, and then also where we need to focus a lot of our time and attention. So I've been swimming a lot more because that's a big weakness of mine. But we've also been doing more longer rides and longer runs. 2 things with that is my form on Training Peaks, which is a combination of your fatigue and your effort, or your training stress score, which I think I've mentioned before. So even though we've been dipping our toes into slightly more intense, well, maybe not necessarily more intense, but definitely longer sessions, so these longer rides, longer runs, and then mixing in some of these speed workouts on runs as well, my form has still stayed relatively even. So a negative form shows you that you're not really ready to perform. It means that you're taking on a lot of stress, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We want to obviously train and take on stress, and that's how we get better, but we also don't want to go into injury. So even though we've been training more, my form has not really shifted in terms of taking on a ton of stress, which means my body's adapting well and handling well. And I think what's probably the key to that is obviously good coaching, right? My coach has been great, and I think I've been taking very, very, very small steps as I've worked up to these distances. So I feel like that happens a lot of the time, and I'm sure you know someone that might have went out and gone too hard or too fast too quickly. So I think that's an important tool of Training Peaks, is to understand how far can we go and push the envelope before it cracks. And I haven't cracked yet, which kind of leads me into my second topic. This week particularly, and this could be due to some of the longer efforts, I've finally felt like very mentally fatigued. Like I'm obsessed with triathlon. I love working out. But this week, there were a few sessions where I woke up and I was like, I cannot believe that I have to go and do this workout. And usually once I'm 20, 30 minutes into it, like that feeling fades. But it's just been a little bit harder to tie the shoes and just like mentally get out the door. But already throughout this week, I feel like Saturday I'm very much looking forward to, which is going to be a long ride for me. Hopefully it will be one of my longer ones. I think it might be, we're shooting for 80, could be 90, could be 100. I think it's just going to kind of see how the day shakes out. And obviously the weather will play a part in that. I think the rain is going to hold off for us. But that'll be a really important session, a really good low intensity zone 2 ride with my coach. And I'm sure we might sprinkle in a few intervals throughout, which, I'll let you know how that goes. I just wanted to kind of emphasize that sometimes injuries and just general fatigue and not sleeping and not taking care of yourself can take you out of training. But there's also an element of mental fatigue. It's important to balance everything you have in your life. You have your work, you have your family, you have your friends. You want to work hard, you want to play hard. So it's important that you don't get burnt out mentally, and just as important as physically, right? So getting good sleep and kind of prioritizing what needs to get done. So if there's not a key session that is coming up and you need that break, you have to kind of communicate that with your coach and have that dialogue. So I haven't had to take my foot off the gas just yet. I'm going to see it through the end of the week. It should be a relatively low-key weekend in terms of like social and just like personal. So I should be able to rest and hopefully bounce back for next week. I've been doing these Zwift races that are climbing oriented, I guess you could say. They're usually like between 10 to 15 miles, and they will either have like a climb at the end or they'll have the rolling hills. I think one of the stages was the one I recorded on the video last week. So those are really good sessions to just get as much intensity as you can and then pack that in with like either a brick or like a runoff. So what we've been doing is still doing those like short bricks just to get a feeling of how my legs will feel after a hard bike ride, or in the Ironman 70.3 would just be a long ride. So you're just trying to still simulate that fatigue. So now, obviously, it's important to do the same thing over and over again and be consistent, but you obviously want to be progressing and do progressive overload. So that's how we kind of get better, is we monitor. We said, okay, we ran a mile this fast, then we'll do a little bit of work, and then we'll see, did I run that mile faster 6 weeks later, right? But it's also important that, let's just say if you're in the gym and you're benching and you're doing 3 sets of 10, a lot of people think the only way to progress is to do 3 sets of 10 at 135 and then do 3 sets of 10 at 140 next week and then 145, and you kind of just keep going up in weight, which is a good way to do progressive overload. It's very simple, it's very straightforward, it's easy to track. But also you can do the same workout but different time under tension, for example. So it could be 3 sets of 10, but now instead of just going down and up, 1 second and 1 second, you'll do 3 seconds down, 1 second up, or you'll do 4 seconds down, 1 second up. You can even do like a quarter rep. So you could go down, quarter rep, and go up, all using the same weight at that rep and set scheme. So that's obviously going to create new adaptations to the muscle. So even though you're not lifting heavier, you're still getting better because you're adding more time under tension, you're adding this quarter rep. So there's different ways to slightly change training while still doing basically the same thing. So with these bricks, we're still doing these 2-mile bricks afterwards to simulate that fatigue, like I said. But usually I was doing it at a much slower pace. Now that we're getting closer to race day, we're going to be doing more race pace runs after these rides. So like the one I had this week was I did a time trial, and then I did a 2-mile brick at 7:30 pace. And then tomorrow is going to be at 7-minute pace after I do the 13-mile climb. So making sure we're getting the leg turnover. I was pretty pleased with how it went on Tuesday. I had a pretty nasty side stitch, and sometimes I can just let myself go with this hydration thing. If I do not wake up and just start my day with water, I'll just get to like 5 o'clock and I'm just like, okay, have I even had a glass of water today? So I am doubling down on hydration outside of working out. So I want to come to workouts knowing that I've had enough water for that day. I don't want to try and catch up and play catch up at the end of the day. So hopefully I won't have that side stitch. I feel like it typically comes with hydration issues for side stitches. I'm not even entirely sure what a side stitch is, and I would love for someone to explain it to me, because you ask Google and they give you like 14 different things that it could be. So side stitches are funny and they suck. So hopefully we won't have that tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. So I will let you know how that goes. I will let you know how Saturday goes. But like I said, hopefully over the weekend we'll get a mental reset. We'll jump back in. Not every week can be perfect, but you got to find the pros and you have to work out the kinks as they come. So that's what we're doing. We're taking it in stride. I still think we're on the right path. Hopefully these bricks will start to give me a better understanding of where my race pace will be after the 56-mile ride. So goal is obviously sub 8-minute miles to get that 145 split for the run. And I obviously know that fresh, that's doable, but it just really depends, because I'm in the back of my head, I'm thinking some of the previous races that I've done, I've played it very conservative on the bike, which paid off on the run, but then I cramped. So if I would have been hydrating properly and it wouldn't have been so hot, maybe it would have been fine. So I just don't know if it's worth it to risk going a little bit harder on the bike and just knowing going into the run I'm going to be slower. So just the classic triathlon strategy sesh here. So we'll see. I'm hoping that I can still push 215 watts and still run that 8-minute pace. So I might have to crunch more numbers. I'll talk to my coach. It'll be interesting to see what he also thinks, because I haven't really talked to him about the exact time. Typically, we don't talk in terms of overall time for the race. Like, we just kind of want to make sure that each discipline, swim, bike, run, we are giving our best, and then our time is our time. So I'm still trying to hold on to that notion that the time at the end will be what it is. As long as I give my best and I do my best in each discipline, then I can be happy at the end of the day. Just don't want to miss anything in transition. I feel like when you start thinking about things in the future or the past, especially when you're racing at such high intensities, it's easy to forget you're fueling, or you miss something in transition. Oh, I forgot my belt, or something like that. So I just want to mitigate that and just remember to stay present, focusing on my breathing, and just let things come to me as they come. So anyway, that was a bit of a ramble. I wanted to talk about the swim, and I wanted to talk about the mental fatigue, and just kind of hit on the fact that not every day is going to be a total victory. So it's all about just showing up every day, like I said last week, and that's what we're doing. So cue this workout video and stay tuned for next week. As always, like, subscribe, all that jazz, comment. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
It's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my clock, they tugging it. Putting up numbers, 99 problems, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my clock, they tugging it. Putting up numbers, 99 problems, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, who don't play, 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 play. 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 Who don't? Long time coming, black on the bottom of my feet from running. Cataracts under my eyes from hustling. Going from buying to selling to customers. Run up the business, God is my witness. Sun up to sun up, from Monday to Sunday. We maxing our limits. My mind running like Tom Cruise on an action movie. Moving a mission, they say that I'm tripping. I've been told I need a vacation, I'm finessing a visit. First class, my feet up high in the air on business. Yeah, woo. Cover the city, your city ain't working, it's hard for nothing. She told me don't let up, it's on us to make it, it's on us to